Greetings and welcome to Old School Goldsmith. I'm your host Gaia, and today we're going to be making this lovely split shank ring. First, we're going to start with trimming the stone down to the customer's desired form with the Diamond Pacific Genie. Now we're going to take a bezel wire that's 3 millimeters by 0.5 millimeter. Square that off and start to bend with some half round using various pliers and technique of bending to create a bezel that fits exactly around the stone. You can make it a little bit smaller than the stone so we can grind it later. Now we're going to solder, flux, and using hard solder for the very first solder. This bezel may have a tendency to open on us. I have annealed it, but I'm going to give it another annealing as I solder it at the same time. If it opens, you can lift it up and push it down and anneal it at the same time. If your solder moves, you can gently move it back to in place. And if it doesn't cooperate and goes to one side, you can push it back over. Okay, pickle that and file that down to a nice even form and adjust it perfectly. After it's adjusted, we turn it over, taking the back side and filing it flat. Now we're going to take the bezel and to dip it in some flux and put it on top of the 0.5 millimeter backing plate to give it a mark so we can see where to put the solder. After we apply the solder, set the bezel on top of the solder. And then heating it up slowly so it settles on top of the solder. I use a charcoal block because it reflects the heat. Also, for flat things, it seems to heat up quicker. And there it solders as one. Okay, now trim the outside edges off, the backing plate. Then we'll give that a file with our number 2 half round ring. And file the bottom because you won't be able to get to this after the shank is put on. Now we're going to work on the shank. We'll take a 3x3 square wire that we run through the mill, and now we're going to take a draw plate that has round, half round, and square. This one is made in Switzerland by the Bezel company. Now we'll take the beeswax and give a generous portion onto the beginning of the square wire and draw that down with some draw tongs. These ones have a curved handle so I can pull hard. Gives you extra support. Okay, we're going to start with a little bit larger one. And then pull it to the desired thickness. Now we have a very square wire, and we can take our half round ring pliers after we have annealed this wire, and then bring both ends inward to the middle to create a uniform circle. It'll be a bit smaller so we can tap it up with a steel hammer. So the customer desires a size 7, so So just a touch smaller than a size 7. Bring both together and have a look to see where we're at. Now we're going to solder these two at the bottom here together. Okay, so now that we've done our fabrication, let's give a regroup and put our tools away. So we're going to start with cleaning the files. First, we'll take a bench brush and just gently wipe it down. And pull the steel brush out for more stubborn pieces. After that, we're going to take our handy oil, apply a little bit on a toothbrush, and give a coat onto the file. Now we can take our bench brush and even that out. This can keep it from rusting if you live in a humid place. And now we're ready for our next project. So we're going to temporarily solder these two rings together so we can bring them up to size and flatten them. Okay, we'll go ahead and pickle that now. After we're all nice and pickled and flat and clean, we're going to solder these two together. I use forceps to hold the top piece so I can have a very strong hold on this. Take a generous piece of solder, lay it in place, and I set my hand on the bench so I have a good solid foundation for my hand to rest so it'll be stable and won't move. Use hard solder on this solder since it is the bottom of the shank. And there you have it. So now we're going to take a bezel and have a look where we're going to grind the top down for the bezel. Use a number 1 half round ring. This will take a lot of metal quickly. After that, we'll take a number 2 half round ring and do the outside, inside, and sides of the ring with this file. Getting closer. Now take our emery board and emery the entire piece, the shank and the bezel, backing plate, everything. So take a bit of flux and some solder and some flux on the backing plate or the bezel, which has its carat stamp and trademark, old school Goldsmith. Now looking down on top of the piece so you can line it up from the top and then from the sides, both sides, and move it so it is as good as you can get it because it's very hard to change after it's soldered. Go to the side one more time to take a look. Okay, heat it up. And this block is from New Zealand, from a lake where I had cut it in half, and I've been using it for more than 30 years now. And it's a very good reflectant of heat as well, and just something old school. I like it. Okay, that's soldered in as one. And there we go. All fabrication's finished now, so we give it a last emery. Emery the insides, and then now we're going to fit the stone. So to fit the stone, every bezel is a little different and every stone is a little different. So I use marks, the X's, and where the right and left is. Take a diamond disc and do the final adjustment with a diamond disc so you don't take too much. Because as you know, if you take too much, you can't put it back on. And now putting it in place, and now we have it. So everything's finished and ready to polish. We'll start with the inside. I use a bit of leather to wrap around my fingers so it doesn't burn my fingers. And it holds on tight as well. Get that inside. And then go over to our hard felt lap. A little bit of diamond, 4x white diamond compound. And lap every surface that you can get to. This will give a crisp, sharp lines on all of your work. Make a mirror finish so it's very easy to polish. And this will also look very professional as well. Takes a little bit of time to get the hang of this, but once you have it, it's a wonderful tool. Lap the outside of the bezel and the top. Okay, go to the buff now and give it a buff with some 4x white diamond, and then on to the ruche, and there you have it, a split shank ring that you can make in about an hour. Hope you enjoy. Thank you, Old School Goldsmith.